welcoming you all of them to Chemistry of Main Group Elements course. Today I am going to talk about an acid. This acid will be called as oil of vitriol. Oil of vitriol. Vitriol means in Latin it will be called as small glass. There crystals, the crystals of compounds resembles like that of colored glass. That's why it will be called as vitriol. It is a colorless liquid, odorless, and it has high viscosity, almost 25 times higher viscous than water. It has very high dielectric constant. It has various properties, various interesting properties. I hope you can understand that what I am going to talk about today. Yes, I am going to talk about sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is called as oil of vitriol. First of all, I want to tell about their important applications. Then you can understand how much its importance. You can easily understand their importance. It is using as a fertilizer. We need to prepare some fertilizers such as superphosphate. Superphosphate is a combination of superphosphate. If you have to synthesize superphosphate, we need sulfuric acid. Superphosphate is the combination of calcium, primary phosphate and gypsum. Gypsum is calcium sulfate dihydrate. So, we need superphosphate, and another one is ammonium sulfate. Ammonium sulfate also people are using as fertilizer. To synthesize ammonium sulfate, we need again a starting precursor, sulfuric acid. Second application, if we have to synthesize mineral acids, normally we are using in the laboratory, mineral acids such as HCl, nitric acid, some of the etc. These are some of the very common acids which can be obtained from sulfuric acid. For example, if we have to get HCl, we react sodium chloride and sulfuric acid, we can get HCl. HCl is a gas, we know. We can easily obtain such kind of mineral acids, and also various sulfates. If we have to prepare metal sulfates, again we need a starting precursor of sulfuric acid. Example, aluminium sulfate. Aluminium sulfate. And also we know barium sulfate, lead sulfate, and these are some of the sulfates which are normally insoluble in water that we know. For everything we need, if we have to prepare sulfates, we need sulfuric acid. And the third one is sulfonation. If we have to carry out any kind of sulfonation in organic synthesis, we need again sulfuric acid. Then nitration. If we have to carry out nitration, the primary role of acid here is nitric acid, but we need again sulfuric acid. If there is no sulfuric acid, we will never get an electrophile of NO2 plus, nitronium ion. It will be generated only the mixture of nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Again, for carrying out any kind of nitration such as phenol to picric acid, glycerol to nitroglycerin, such kind of nitration reactions, we need nitratic mixture. It contains again sulfuric acid. Then lead acid battery. Lead acid battery. Lead acid battery, this battery normally we are using, most of the vehicles we are using this battery. Again this battery, this electrochemical cell having, the cell was completely immersed with sulfuric acid. Then it's very common laboratory reagent. It's a very common laboratory reagent. We have various applications with sulfuric acid. So, normally annually almost we need hundreds of tons of sulfuric acid is needed for our for old wise. Old wise, that much sulfuric acid, hundreds of tons of sulfuric acid are needed for utilizing all of their applications normally. If we have to get that much sulfuric acid, normally we are manufacturing sulfuric acid by two different ways. One is contact process, another one is lead chamber process. If we need to manufacture sulfuric acid, usually in industry they are manufacturing by two different processes. One is contact process. Another one is lead chamber process. Lead chamber process. Contact process is very common way. In that way, people are in industry mostly tons of sulfuric acid are preparing by using the procedure of by using contact process. Both process involves the conversion of sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide. Once we got sulfur trioxide, if we undergo react with water, we can get sulfuric acid. Okay, if we have to get sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide, also we need sulfur dioxide. Usually sulfur dioxide will be prepared by burning of sulfur. If we burned sulfur with oxygen, we can get sulfur dioxide, and it's highly exothermic reaction. For example, I can give the delta H value. We can say like of sulfur plus sulfur usually in the form of octamer plus oxygen will give sulfur dioxide. The delta H value for this one is the enthalpy of reaction, that is the enthalpy of reaction is minus 297 kilojoule per mole. It's a very highly exothermic reaction. Again, once you got sulfur dioxide can react with oxygen. Oxygen we can get sulfur trioxide. Again, it's an exothermic reaction. Delta H value is minus 98.98 kilojoule per mole. Both of them are highly exothermic reaction. If we have to convert the second step, sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide, in case of contact process, we are using here heterogeneous catalyst. Heterogeneous catalyst such as vanadium pentoxide. What it will do? How does vanadium pentoxide can convert sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide? Vanadium pentoxide first react with sulfur dioxide to form vanadium tetroxide plus sulfur trioxide. Then that vanadium tetroxide will react with oxygen to form vanadium, to regenerate the catalyst vanadium pentoxide. So here the V2O5 act as oxygen carrier. Overall the reaction will be sulfur dioxide plus half oxygen will give sulfur trioxide. And another important thing in contact process is that reaction sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide is exothermic reaction. So we need to carry out this reaction only at low temperature. I mean low temperature means need to use around 400 degrees Celsius. If we have gone more than 400 degrees Celsius, then sulfur trioxide can be decomposed to sulfur dioxide and oxygen. If for example, if we have gone to 600 degrees Celsius, then almost 25% of sulfur trioxide will be decomposed to sulfur dioxide and oxygen. So we need to maintain temperature here exactly around 400 to maximum 500 degrees Celsius. And I have to tell anything about contact process means yes, I think most of them I have already completed about contact process. Now let me discuss about lead chamber process. In case of lead chamber process, here we are using homogeneous catalyst. Homogeneous catalyst. Such as oxides of nitrogen. How does oxides of nitrogen is converting sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide? Sulfur dioxide first react with N2O3, dinitrogen trioxide will give nitric oxide plus sulfur trioxide. To nitric oxide. Then the nitric oxide again react with half equivalent of oxygen to form to regenerate oxides of nitrogen N2O3. Overall reaction will be sulfur dioxide plus half oxygen will give sulfur trioxide. But here we have some more difference in this process compared with contact process. We will never convert sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide directly. Like instead of sulfur trioxide, most of the time, I mean, we will always get in the form of intermediates. Like that of, for example, we have two different intermediates. One will be called as lead chamber crystal. Lead chamber crystal. Lead chamber crystal will be called as nitronium hydrogen sulfate. And another one is N2O2 plus HSO4 minus. So this will be called as lead chamber crystal, and this one will be called as blue or violet acid. Blue or violet acid. So what happened if we carry out this process? We have carried out the lead chamber process means we will get these two intermediates. If you hydrolysis of any of this intermediate, both intermediate of hydrolysis will give always the sulfuric acid. Okay. So these things I think we already studied this manufacture of sulfuric acid in the lower level itself. I mean contact process and the lead chamber process. Now I would like to move to chemical properties. Before going to chemical properties, can we use sulfuric acid as non-aqueous solvents? Because non-aqueous solvents other than water molecules. If we compare with water, can we use sulfuric acid also as a solvent in reaction medium? So what are the positive features to be used as a solvent, and what are the negative features to avoid to use a solvent in for reaction medium? If we think about the positive features, sulfuric acid has very high dielectric constant compared with water. Because water itself have high dielectric constant, that's why it is soluble in most of the inorganic salt. For example, potassium chloride, potassium nitrite, copper sulfate, most of the inorganic salts are soluble in water. Compared with water, sulfuric acid has very high dielectric constant. constant. So you can expect that most of the inorganic compounds are soluble in sulfuric acid. So this is the positive aspect of sulfuric acid. But what about the negative things? We have to know about that things also. If you think about the negative point of view, it has a high viscosity. If you have taken the sulfuric acid viscosity, it's almost 25 times higher in compared with the water. I can show you if you want. See that I have a sulfuric acid. You can see that it's highly viscous, very viscous liquid. So the problem with viscosity, viscosity is the main problem here. Viscosity is 25 times higher. Higher viscous than water. So if it is highly viscous, then whatever products difficult to recover products, and also it has low vapor pressure. So the sulfuric acid has another one is very low vapor pressure. So if it has very low vapor pressure, then what happens? It is very difficult to dry the synthesized compound. So it is the another difficulty about sulfuric acid. Because of these two difficult problems, like that of sulfuric acid actually try to and also another problem is that of sulfuric acid can also react with most of the compounds. So in that point of view, try to avoid to use sulfuric acid as solvents. If you are very clear about it will not undergo any kind of reaction with the sulfuric acid, and also there is no issue about problems about viscosity or like that of what can I say, viscosity. That problem is it will not give any kind of such kind of problems. Then there is no problem to use sulfuric acid as a reaction medium for carrying out any kind of reactions. But it is one of the non-aqueous solvents for carrying out any reactions. Okay. And now let me come to chemical properties. If we are coming to chemical properties, first of all, it is a very strong dibasic acid. It is a very strong dibasic acid. Why it is a very strong dibasic acid? If we dissolve sulfuric acid in water, almost 100% will be ionized. I mean H2SO4. If we prepare, for example, 1 molar solution, it's almost H3O plus HSO4 minus. 100% dissociated. Strongly it will provide proton. That's why it will be called as strong acid. 100% dissociated. But when you come to the second dissociation constant, I mean I'm talking about HSO4 minus, it will be only, the second dissociation constant is only 1.3%. 1.3% is dissociated in the second hydrogen ion. The second hydrogen ion of HSO4 minus. If you prepare 1 molar solution, The first proton is almost 100% dissociated, but the second one is only 1.3% is dissociated. I mean, like that of the second dissociation constant is not that much higher compared with the first one, is expected actually. And the second one is most of the cases, most of the acid will act as base. Most of the acid will act as base with the sulfuric acid medium. I can give one example. You can see that one. The simplest one is phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid, if you dissolve in sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid is getting protonated to form POH4 plus HSO4 minus. You can ask me question, sir, how do you know whether the cation and anion was formed? Normally this kind of reaction, because these are all, most of them are colorless reaction, so the monitoring of this reaction can be done by two different ways. One is cryoscopic measurement, cryoscopy measurements, which will give the value of mu. Next one is conductivity measurements. So this two parameter will give information about whether ions are formed or not. Especially when because what type of information we can get from conductivity measurement. Conductivity measurements will give total number of, cryoscopy measurement will give information about total number of particles produced. Total number of particles produced per molecule of solute. Total number of particles. For example, in this case, if one equivalence of one molecule of phosphoric acid and 1 mole of sulfuric acid reacted, will get one molecule of one species of cation and one species of anion. So we will get with the value of the cryoscopy will give the information about, it will give two particles. Two particles will be formed with the reaction of phosphoric acid and sulfuric acid. And at the same time, conductivity measurements. Conductivity measurements. Here the conductivity is, most of the conductivity is due to the formation of H3SO4 plus and HESO4 minus. These two species have very high, these two are very highly mobile. So this most of the conductivity is due to the formation of these two species in sulfuric acid medium. In case if there is any chance of formation of either of one, can be easily get the value of conductivity. For example, in case of the conductivity measurement, this symbol will give information about number of H3SO4 plus or HESO4 minus ions produced per molecule of solute. So in this case, conductivity measurement will give the value of 1. So from the conductivity and the cryoscopy measurements, we can confirm that what type of reactions may occur to form the products. So these two measurements will give information about the product formation in sulfuric acid. Okay. On the basis only, I am going to write some more reaction with the sulfuric acid. Next one is acetic acid. If you react acetic acid with the sulfuric acid, again we can get CH3 CO H plus HSO4 minus. Again, in this case also we can confirm the formation of the product by conductivity as well as cryoscopic measurements. You can see that in both cases sulfuric acid was protonated. First case the sulfuric acid was protonated the phosphoric acid, and the second case sulfuric acid was protonated acetic acid. So in both cases phosphoric acid and acetic acid behaves as base. Both case acetic acid, first case phosphoric acid react as base, and the second case acetic acid act as base. And also in case if you dissolve urea, NH2 CO NH2. If you react this one with the sulfuric acid, in this case what happens? Again we will get salt. Okay. So these are some of the reactions, and again one more things we already knows that one nitric acid also can react. Nitric acid if react with sulfuric acid, maybe I can write that one also. Nitric acid plus sulfuric acid will give hydrogen sulfate, nitronium ion plus protonated water. Okay. So if we balance this equation, need 2 moles of sulfuric acid to get 2 HSO4 minus, and then the formation of this compound again can be confirmed by H3SO4 by conductivity as well as cryoscopic measurement. In this case also what happened? You can see that one nitric acid, first of all it will be protonated to form, before forming nitronium ion, the product will be H2NO3 plus. This will be generated. Nitric acid is protonated. Only then what happens? After that it will be decomposed to nitronium ions. Water will go out. So nitric acid in this case it was protonated. So here nitric acid act as base. I already said that one sulfuric acid actually it is a strong acid because of the donating ability of the protons. It has extraordinary affinity of protons, and also we can tell that one sulfuric acid how much is a strong acid. For example, self-protonated. Sulfuric acid can be self-protonated. For example, sulfuric acid reacts with another mole of sulfuric acid to form protonated. One of the sulfuric acid is protonating another sulfuric acid to form H3SO4 plus HSO4 minus. So this type of reaction will be called as auto-ionization or self-ionization reaction. Self-ionization reaction. This reaction is very clearly shows that how much sulfuric acid, the donating ability of, because how much it is a strong acid as well as how much it has affinity of protons. That's why what happened, it has another thing is, it has like that of extraordinary affinity of, I can write extraordinary affinity with protons. That's why it can easily form a strong hydrogen bond. Because of extraordinary hydrogen bond, the molecule looks like highly viscous in nature. So this process, even though the process actually what happened, the value is around 2.7 into 10 power minus 4. That means it is very clear that compared with the water molecules, this value is the dissociation constant, the self-ionization is higher. So in that point of view, the sulfuric acid does not exist as such. It will be also in the form of various ionic forms. And if sulfuric acid again, and when we are going to make dilute sulfuric acid, we have to think about another point of view, important point of view, how we are going to prepare dilute sulfuric acid. When you are going to, because normally dilute sulfuric acid means the sulfuric acid, if you dilute it with water, usually we can get dilute sulfuric acid. How we have to add water? Can we add water to sulfuric acid, or we have to take a big vessel having sulfuric acid and then we can transfer that? Which one is the best way? Because the density point of view, it is high dense liquid, as well as density is higher, as well as viscosity is higher. So in that case, if you taken a beaker having sulfuric acid and then if you are pouring water, a vigorous reaction, because water is less dense compared with the sulfuric acid, so a vigorous reaction, the upper layer of sulfuric acid will react vigorously. So because of highly exothermic reaction, and that may make the sulfuric acid can be spattered, or sometimes even that complete beaker can be completely broken. So that is not the correct way of preparing dilute sulfuric acid. If you have to prepare dilute sulfuric acid, we have to take a beaker, that beaker having water. For example, if you need to prepare 1 liter of sulfuric acid, then you just take 1 liter of water, then add sulfuric acid just slowly with constant stirring. That way, in that way, if we prepare sulfuric acid, we will never face any kind of problems, because again, in that case, water is less dense compared with the sulfuric acid. So sulfuric acid likes to go down at the time when you are going to do constant stirring. So what happen? You can easily get diluted. Then what happen? That much high exothermic reaction will never happen. End up with the no breakage of any vessel. Okay, next one I have to talk about here. We already discussed about acidic property of sulfuric acid. And what about basicity? Can sulfuric acid act as base? If it has to act as base, then we have to think about their partner. I mean, we have to think about that acid. That acid should give proton to sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid now should accept proton. Is it possible? It's possible. We have various super acid. That because super acid means it's very stronger compared with the sulfuric acid. On that point of view, what happened? Even sulfuric acid can even act as base. But it is extremely weak base. Extremely weak base. Extremely weak base. If sulfuric acid act as base, then we need to use strong acid such as super acid. We have various examples of super acids. I can give one by one. H2S2O7. H2S2O7 means it's simply sulfuric acid dissolved in sulfur trioxide. It will be called as oleum. Then fluorosulfonic acid. Boron containing sulfate. This is very stronger acid compared with the sulfuric acid. And we also have tin and lead containing acid. So these are the various super acid. These acids can behave as, this acid will make as sulfuric acid as base, because these are a very strong acid compared with sulfuric acid. So when we react this acid with maybe like that of with the sulfuric acid, now sulfuric acid can get protonated. And another one we have, which is also called as magic acid, H2F plus SB F6 minus. Okay. when we are going to talk about this acid, it can't be isolated. It can be prepared in situ. When we are going to carry out the reaction, this one will be formed and then it will be automatically what happened, can undergo reaction, like that it's an in situ generated compound. It will be never isolated, the boron containing sulfate. For example, boric acid, if you react with the sulfuric acid plus sulfur trioxide, can give H3SO4 plus B HSO4 minus. It's very clear that if this base, if the conjugate base was formed, means the corresponding acid should be this one. This acid was generated and then it was protonated sulfuric acid. So what happened? We got H3SO4 species plus the corresponding conjugate base of this acid. Okay. So in that way what happened? Sulfuric acid is protonated. Now this sulfuric acid, now it's very clear that sulfuric acid acts as base. I will have another one more examples also. Magic acid, if you react with the magic acid H2F plus SbF6 minus, then we can get H3SO4 plus SbF6 minus plus HF. So H2F, that H2F was having the proton was protonated the sulfuric acid. So normally the magic acid can be prepared by reacting two equivalents of HF plus antimony pentafluoride. It's strong Lewis acid. So if we mix these two reagents in the corresponding ratio 2:1, we can get a magic acid. If we react magic acid with the sulfuric acid, now sulfuric acid gets protonated. So here sulfuric acid again act as base. If we compare the acidic behavior of boron containing sulfate as well as magic acid, boron containing sulfonate, fluorosulfonic acid, because if we are going to take, everything will be depend upon how much it will be dissociated. For example, sulfuric acid is stronger acid compared with HCl and nitric acid. On what basis it's stronger means donating ability, dissociation constant of in water. Because if we taken in that way, the dissociation constant of fluorosulfonic acid and the boron having the sulfonate, that proton, these two acids are very strongly dissociated in sulfuric acid medium. If we dissolve this one in sulfuric acid, again the boron containing sulfuric acid, the ionization constant if you have taken means, you can see the value, it is around 3 into 10 power minus 3 in case of fluorosulfonic acid. Fluorosulfonic acid is 3 into 10 power minus 3. And in case of boron containing one is 0.4. The value itself, it's very clear that one in sulfuric acid medium, fluorosulfonic acid and boron containing that one is a stronger acid. So both of them are very stronger acid in comparison with the sulfuric acid. Okay, now we can go to the next one is oxidizing property. Even this acid can use for oxidation reaction also. It also have the property of oxidizing. It can oxidize metal atom. Oxidizing property. Oxidizing property. Oxidizing property. When we have taken hydrogen in the electrochemical series, if we taken a hydrogen atom, I mean the reduction potential value of hydrogen one is, we know that it's 0. So if we taken that one, whatever the elements which are present above in the electrochemical series, just above of the hydrogen, I mean usually alkali metals, alkaline earth metals and zinc, these are some of the metals which will occupy the position, which will come just above the hydrogen in the in the electrochemical series, that whatever the metal which is present above in the electrochemical series can act as very good reducing agents, strong reducing agents. So the such kind of metals, for example, if you are going to react magnesium with sulfuric acid, then it can produce magnesium sulfate plus hydrogen gas. Okay. So normally magnesium itself is a strong reducing agent. So what happened? We need to use here even dilute sulfuric acid. Dilute sulfuric acid itself enough to react with magnesium to oxidize magnesium 0 to plus 2. Hydrogen here plus 1 to 0. So in this case the sulfuric acid act as an oxidizing agent. Not only magnesium, you can use even sodium, potassium, rubidium. When you come down, actually reaction is highly exothermic. And such kind of alkali metals or alkali earth metals, even instead of magnesium, you can use zinc. Zinc also can undergo such kind of reaction. Zinc plus sulfuric acid and sulfuric acid will give zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas. But if we use concentrated sulfuric acid, what will happen? Usually for such kind of reaction, we will use only dilute sulfuric acid. If we use it concentrated, because this reaction has to occur means magnesium should give magnesium 2 plus 2 electron, which is an anodic reaction. That electron will be taken by sulfuric acid. That means 2 electron plus 2 proton will give hydrogen gas. So overall, what happened? This will be cathodic reaction. First one will be anodic reaction and second one will be cathodic reaction. So in case before forming hydrogen, there will be formation of nascent hydrogen. Nascent hydrogen will undergo dimerization to form diatomic hydrogen molecule. So if you use directly concentrated sulfuric acid, that concentrated sulfuric acid will be reacted with nascent hydrogen to form hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide plus water molecules. So in case if you are going to use concentrated sulfuric acid instead of dilute sulfuric acid, instead of hydrogen formation, we will get hydrogen sulfide formation. So that's why what happens, instead of to avoid hydrogen sulfide, we can use even dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, what will happen? The element which are present in the electrochemical cell just below of hydrogen, whatever the elements which are covering below of hydrogen in the electrochemical series, that elements can, or some of the elements can also react with sulfuric acid. Whatever the elements which is coming below of hydrogen in the electrochemical series, that elements will not be a strong reducing agent. So that elements will not be a strong reducing agent means, then in that case we need to use concentrated sulfuric acid. For example, you can take a metal such as copper or even mercury, or you can use even silver. If you are going to react this one with sulfuric acid, because these two metal atoms are less reducing agents compared with alkali metals or alkaline earth metal. These two metals, this one or mercury or silver, which are a less reducing agent. So that case we have to use concentrated sulfuric acid. Only then reaction will occur to form, for example, copper sulfate or mercuric sulfate. Mercury sulfate plus, in this case we will never absorb hydrogen gas. Instead of hydrogen gas, we will get SO2. SO2 plus water. So sulfuric acid is now reduced to sulfurous acid. H2SO3 will form. That H2SO3 will decompose to sulfur dioxide and water. So how does this reaction will occur? Again in this case also, copper will go to copper 2 plus 2 electron, which is an anodic reaction, and then the 2 electron will react with now sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid plus 2 proton plus 2 electrons. This 2 electron will react with sulfuric acid to get sulfur dioxide plus water. Okay. Okay. So, in this case, we need to use concentrated, hot concentrated sulfuric acid. We need to make hot. Only then this reaction will occur. Copper or mercury will never react with dilute sulfuric acid because these two, not only these two and also silver, all these three metals are less reducing agent. So if we have to reaction has to occur, means we need to use concentrated sulfuric acid and then we have to make them hot. Only then the reaction will occur. In this case, again, instead of hydrogen gas, we are getting a sulfur dioxide gas. Okay. If we go to platinum or gold, platinum and gold have very little reducing property. Platinum and gold have very little reducing property. So this will be called as noble metal, which will never react with sulfuric acid. Okay. What about non-metals? Carbon react with sulfuric acid? Yes, carbon can react with sulfuric acid. Carbon, if you dissolve in sulfuric acid, you can get carbon dioxide plus sulfur dioxide plus water. Need to balance this reaction. 2 sulfur dioxide plus 2 water. Similarly, sulfur is also a non-metal which can also react with sulfuric acid to give water.